you metalheads, I'm Scotty J. You are watching Rock Titan TV. Got a great guest with us today. He's the epitome of thrash metal. And I know a lot of you folks out there, you're going to know this guy from Exumer, but we're going to be talking about a brand new band that he's got going on because he's got a new album coming out. And it is called Skull Pit. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Mem Von Stein.
What's going on?
Man, what's going on, man?
Good, all good.
So like we were just telling people, obviously everyone knows you from Exumer.
That's right.
But you got a new project going on through Metal Blade Records right now, Skull Pit.
That's correct.
How long's this been in the works?
Well, we started talking about this maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And meaning we as Tatsu from Church of Misery.
Right.
And the way we became acquainted and friends was basically him watching me posting his records, Church of Misery records, on Instagram because I'm a record collector.
Okay.
And I put out all my vinyl out on the web, mostly on Instagram. And he saw me posting his records out there, and then occasionally, if we'd be on tour with Exumer, I would wear a shirt of his. And then one day he wrote me on Facebook, and he said, "Listen, I seen you wear our stuff, and you're supporting us. Thank you so much. I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a thrasher myself. I used to have a thrash metal band prior to Church of Misery in Japan. That didn't go anywhere, but I'm a huge thrash fan, and I love Exumer since back in the day, basically."
Right.
And then we started talking, and I was like, that's crazy, and I love your band, so it was just like, romance off the cusp. And then we just continued the conversation, and then throughout the years, I would send him Exumer stuff, he'd send me a Church of Misery stuff, and just that went on. And then one day he said, listen, I got a few tracks that I've recorded. I'm going to email them to you, and let me know what you think. And I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then he emailed me those tracks, and I said, they're great. They sounded like Motorhead, all that stuff from the new wave of British heavy metal, everything that we basically grew up with.
Right on.
Him over there and me in Germany back in the day. And then I was like, wow, that's great. And he said, well, could you imagine singing on them? And at first I was taken aback. I was like, I guess, I don't know. I usually, it's not my style, but I can give it a shot. And I kind of blew it off for a hot second. Then he wrote me back and said, did you do anything with those tracks? And I said, well, I didn't, but now I'm going to do it. So
nag.
Yeah. So I took a stab at it, and then I liked it. I had fun with it because it's so different than Exumer or Church of Misery, and it's stuff that I can totally relate. I'm a huge Motorhead fan. I'm a huge new wave British heavy metal fan.
Right. I
was like, this is cool, and then I continued writing lyrics, and and then I just had like maybe 5 or 6 tracks deep, and I did the vocals, I demoed the vocals, sent him the vocals, he loved them, and then he said, why don't we do this project for real, and can you come up with a band name and a concept around it, like I do with Exumer?
Right.
And I said, yeah, why not? So, and I got some ideas together for a concept, and then the Skull Pit thing stuck. He loved it. I loved it. And then we just took it, then we recorded all this stuff. He did all the backing tracks in Japan.
Okay.
Sent me all this stuff. And I have a friend of mine, Mitz. He used to play guitars for Madball out here. And he's well connected. He's a musician, and he knows a lot of people. And out here on Long Island, he has a friend who has a rehearsal space / studio, and who's also a musician. Anthony plays drums for Sheer Terror. And so they said, yeah, come on down, we'll record your vocals. So I recorded the vocals, And then the whole thing was sent to Metal Blade because of the Exumer connection. Our records are published through them,
right.
and they release our albums, and they liked it. They said, "Yeah, it's different, and it's not what you do. It's also not what Tatsu does, so it's really cool." And it's small. I mean, it's a smaller project. It's not going to be treated like a huge A-list theme out in Metal Blade, but they everything I do, they give it some attention, and they let me do whatever I want, basically, as long as if they like it. And so it was a good fit from the jump, and that's how the whole thing came together, really. Yeah. Basically online, and us just swapping ideas and loving what we do, what we love in terms of musical tastes and stuff. And that's how the whole thing came together.
Well, you gotta love technology.
It's crazy. It's totally bananas.
You come a long way since Possessed by Fire.
Man, I mean, this would.
Can you even remember, man? Can you even remember when that came out?
Shit, I was 18.
Were you really?
Wow.
Wow. Well, I mean, that was like, that was the heyday of thrash metal, man. I mean, that was like everything. Everyone was coming out, California, and I mean, oh my God, it was insane. But and you have an interesting history actually with Exumer, because while you came out in the '80s, it's like the '90s were. Where'd you go? What happened in the '90s, man? Where'd you go?
So we stayed active. Basically, the two original guitarists from Exumer, Ray and Bernie, and I, we did a crossover. The '90s were a funny time. So
it was grunge, right?
Yeah, in terms of metal, and everybody was wearing weird stuff and experimenting. So we experimented.
Right.
So we were like crossover metal rap project in Europe. And it was myself, the two guitarists from Exumer, and three other guys. And we did that. We actually put out two records. We were signed to Sony in Europe at the time.
Okay.
And, but it didn't really go anywhere. We did a lot of tours with bands like Downset.
All right, right on.
That type of genre metal bands from the day. And so we did that throughout the '90s, and then I moved to New York and actually went to college and did something else than music for
what?
a change.
Why, man? Why? You're a front man of a metal band. Successful at that. What are you doing? Are you going to school for any? Was it music related that you were going to school for?
No. So this is an interesting story because throughout that project that we did in the '90s, we did have some success. I mean, we were signed to Sony Music in Europe, and one day, one of our sound engineers, his girlfriend at the time was a teacher, and she invited me to come and speak to her students at school.
Okay.
And I was talking about, at the time I owned a record store, I was, DJing and stuff, and I was breaking all that stuff down, and the reception was really cool. And then I got invited for more of these, not lectures, if you will, but, talking, just like free, conversation. I really enjoyed it. And then I was like, what field would be where I could have an impact on other people? That I felt that was really cool. And then I moved to New York. I have family here. And I went to social work school. I went to college.
Kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I studied social work undergrad, and then got my master's in social work as well. So so I got that out of the way. Throughout that, I had a very small thrash metal band here in New York called Sun Descends. It was more like a fun 80s throwback thrash project. And then towards 2007, 2008, I was done with that, and my partner Ray, the other Exumer guy that is in the band, original member right now, he was done with a rock type of project that he did while I was away, and I'm still away, but we were both busy. And And so we called each other and said, you know what, it would be cool to get Exumer back, but this time for real, And talking about technology, that was when that was established, Skype was going on. And so we started to get back involved in that, and we got the Exumer train back off the track, and that started rolling. And since then, we're working on the third record we're doing for Metal Blade right now.
Okay, all right, because I was going to say, I mean, obviously you had the Raging Tides come out just a couple years ago, so I was wondering where things kind of stood now that you've got the Skull Pit project going on. Your last album with Exumer was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So you are doing more Exumer material.
Oh yeah. No, I'm going. My flight is booked. I'm going to record vocals in December.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're done. The songwriting is just bits and pieces here and there, but we got 10 brand new songs, and that record is coming out next year, and then definitely followed by touring and all that. So
look at you, man. Busy man. You wasted all that money on college, man.
Yeah, it was something, but you know what? I get a lot of inspiration draw a lot of inspiration from the things that I've seen, that I've experienced here in New York. And a lot of that was through, school as well, and internships, and, working with disenfranchised populations. And, this next Exumer record is basically centered around the topic of mental illness.
No kidding. Wow. Okay.
That's something that, I can directly, I have experience with.
Okay.
And not necessarily personally, but
right. But just in your social work, experience. Right on, man.
So, in a way, that experience helped me with the music, and it actually, and I think once the new Exumer record comes out, which will be next year in the spring, people will be like, "Wow, this is going to be crazy," in terms of with the artwork, the lyrics, the concept. When I break down the entire concept, people are going to be like, "Wow, that's awesome." I feel. I don't want to.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. For all thrash metal fans out there, I know they're going to be jazzed. They're going to be jazzed, man. It's going to be awesome. But as far as Skull Pit goes, you got a single that's out there right now, Marauders.
That's right.
And an official music video at that.
Right.
How do you feel about official music videos? I got to ask because we are Rock Titan TV, not Rock Titan Radio. So do you actually like doing music videos? I know a lot of you guys have different feelings on it. Some of you really like it. Some of them are like it's just a necessary evil for marketing. Where do you stand on it?
So with the last video that we did, the first and only one, Fire Breather, I went to meet Tatsu for the first time in person when he played at Psycho Las Vegas in Vegas over the summer.
Okay.
So prior to that, we decided to meet up and, take some pictures together, get that promo package together. And then through our conversation, we said, well, we're going to be in the desert. It would be cool. It's a cool scenario to have a clip filmed out there.
No CGI, no green screen, man. You got the the natural landscape, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we said, you know what? Let's do it. And usually I'm a little bit, I don't mind doing clips. They can be kind of boring. There's a lot of standing around and people adjusting cameras,
Yeah.
This was kind of different because the terrain was totally different. We had, you had to be weary of rattlesnakes.
I was going to ask if you saw any dangerous creatures out there.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. There were a lot of critters. There's these cacti type of plants that if they attach to you, they're extremely difficult to get off. You can't get them on your skin. I forgot what they were called.
Oh, wow.
The crew actually had knives, special knives to get those things off of you, and one attached itself to my pants. It was pretty crazy. So that was fun. That was a fun clip.
All right.
And there was not too much a two-man band can do unless we we have a crew that will play with us live.
Right on.
But one of them is here in New York and the other guy's in Japan. So that would have been a total nightmare logistically getting everybody together. So it was just him and I.
Okay.
So the landscape kind of lend itself to do a clip that is not super boring because there's something to look at least. It's interesting enough. And then we had some shots in the casino at the Hard Rock where Tatsu was staying,
nice.
And where Psycho Las Vegas was actually happening. And so the whole thing came together really nice. So I enjoyed that. Do I love making video clips? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what it is, but generally they're a bit of a stretch.
Right on. That's cool. No, I had to ask.
But I mean, the thing is, it's good to have a visual representation of your music in regards to A, reaching people, and B, kind of like you put another layer on your craft, on your art.
Well, I think we just need to bring music television back, man, and especially for metal. You know what I mean?
After that, yeah.
I just think it's imperative. Now,
of course you.
You know what I'm saying? So, Skull Pit, that actually comes out November 16th, yeah?
Yeah, that's coming out next month. We're pretty pumped. There's another single coming out prior to that, I think maybe 10 days ahead of the release date.
Okay.
And then it's off to the races. I'm super happy about it's coming out on vinyl, and it has 5 variants. It has 4 colored variants, 1 black vinyl for people who dig the black wax, and that's I mean, Metal Blade did everything right in terms of treating the product of what it is. I love the artwork. A friend of mine from Britain did the artwork.
Very cool.
Charlie, he's a huge metalhead, but also he's pretty well known on Instagram, the doom scene, metal scene, whatever.
Right
very talented artist. It's a very I think that the artwork turned out to be exactly what it needed to be in terms of representing the sound.
Okay.
And I'm happy that a British fellow did it, because he's I mean the music is a huge homage to new wave of British heavy metal. So
right on, man.
It all comes together.
Right on. Very cool. Very cool. So now you talked about the fact you are going to be doing some new material with Exumer. You've already been working on the next Exumer album. So is there any talk of any touring with Skull Pit? You got any tour dates?
Yeah, we got an agent. It's actually the same guy who books Church of Misery in Europe. He started to. If you have 2 touring bands, people in 2 touring bands, you have to kind of know each other's tour schedule. So
sure.
The easiest way to do that was to work with either Mike Camp from Exumer or Church of Misery Camp.
Okay.
And so his agent in Europe was like, "Hey, I'll do it. I dig it a lot." And we thought it was a good fit because the agency that we work with, they represent a lot of thrash, hardcore, that type of music. Whereas I think Skull Pit, it can be anyone who's into metal can like it, but anybody who's into doom can like it or thrash. But it might be easier to get booked in certain venues that have a broader type of clientele, maybe.
Okay.
So so he's working on a tour. We start in Europe.
Okay. I was just going to ask. All right.
Right, and then we'll see how that whole thing clicks. It has to be worked around Church's tour schedule and Exumer's tour schedule, but that's kind of like easier now since the guy's booking them.
All right.
I'm talking about Church. So we're working on that, and I think that will kick off sometime, I would say maybe late spring, because right around the time we're releasing the new Exumer record, we'll be going on tour in South America.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it will definitely have to be after that. But we'll stay busy with Skull Pit doing shows throughout 2019. they're going to be a little more strategically placed, obviously, and it has to be accommodated to both of our other bands. But
right.
you know, we do have the desire, and quite frankly, we want to play live. You know, with this, because it's kind of. I think if you hear the record, if you listen to the record, it translates really well on the album, but it's made to be played live. I mean, the vibe of the record live will be so much stronger, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know I'm looking forward to it, and you know, Exumer fans got to be looking forward to it. You know, and all Tatsu's people too. So again, everybody, we are here with Mem Von Stein from Exumer. And we're talking about his new band that he's got going on, Skull Pit. Go check out their new single out there, Marauders. It's out there right now, and we'll put in some lower thirds here, so you got all the links that you need. And man, we're looking for new Exumer material. We're looking for a Skull Pit tour. This is exciting stuff, Mem.
Yeah, man. We're going to stay busy. 2019 is the year.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, Mem, thank you again so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, man.